Mr. Hanwha, this is my 16th year in prison for a horrible tragedy I promise you I could not have possibly had anything to do with. I can't even begin to imagine the workload
and requests you receive. However, if you cannot help me, the truth will never come to light as long as I stay in prison.
An inmate's primary mode of conversation with us is through correspondence. And a lot of times it's the students that initially see these letters, and especially if an attorney hasn't been assigned to a case yet, it's only the students that are viewing them in preparation for this case evaluation. So to go through and read these letters claiming oftentimes very clear innocence and substantiated by plenty of evidence and things like that, it serves as kind of this unnerving level of motivation to work a case to the highest ethic that you possibly can. And it shapes the way that you're able to view other people, and that people who are just kind of living their lives can often be thrown into these really horrific scenarios and left to reach out to places like the Innocence Project when everybody else has just kind of forgotten them.
Bill Amor's case involved what was claimed to be an arson. The police and the firefighters at the time determined it was an arson that resulted in a murder, so it was an arson murder case. However, since the 90s, arson science has developed drastically, and so we now know that what they used to believe meant that an arson had occurred now means that it can be an accidental fire or you don't really know. So the patterns that they used to say absolutely meant that this was an arson, that someone had started this fire, that accelerant was used, we now know doesn't mean that. And in fact, in Bill Amor's case, the way that the police believed the fire started is scientifically impossible. You cannot start a fire that way, and that is how he was convicted of starting this fire. We've been fortunate in the past to receive DNA funding, but that funding is very limited to specifically DNA testing. But as we know, and as we've really seen with the Bill Amor case, there's so much more out there and so much that requires a village, really, and it requires so many people to make these exonerations happen. And we're so grateful for the support that we've received throughout the years, and we look forward to continued support and expanding our village.
Growing up, I had always learned that if you had this insurmountable amount of evidence and things were very, very clear that somebody was innocent, then a prosecution wouldn't occur. And to see this actually occur in spite of, overwhelming scientific evidence that the crime couldn't have happened really re-emphasized the point that projects like us need to exist and need to be able to do this work because there's always going to be miscarriages of justice.
I've always been hopeful. I've always known that, the system eventually would do the right thing. It's unfortunate it takes 22 years, but there are others behind it, so we'll focus on that.